So a while ago I did a video detailing what I thought to be the top 5 best punches in One Piece. However, many of you were quick to point out so many other amazing punches that absolutely deserve their due recognition. So as a result, we are going to be doing a sequel here today. I won't spoil the results of the original top 5 best punches in case you haven't seen it, but I do suggest you go and watch that video before jumping into this one. Just to quickly recap the criteria for this list, I define a punch as a single action using a fist. Pretty simple stuff. So with that out of the way, let's begin. Welcome to another top 5 best punches in One Piece. Number 5. Arlong. Now this is a punch I didn't forget about. In fact, I used it as the background image in the thumbnail for the original video. However, looking back on it, this punch deserves a hell of a lot more credit. After suffering as audience members through the tragedy of Nami's past and being thoroughly heartbroken when she finally asked Luffy for help, this punch was the first step towards making everything all better again. Arlong was easily the most evil villain we'd seen in the series at this point, and he was effectively untouched. The satisfaction of finally seeing this brutal shark get smacked in the face is overwhelming, and makes me want to yell out loud in victory. And the best part of all of this is that Luffy had never even met Arlong before now. He just heard the name of Hutabita, broke into the compound, asked who Arlong was, and promptly socked him in the face. And that is pretty damn awesome. Number 4. Caesar Clown. So I immediately hated the character of Caesar Clown from the moment he popped into the story, although I should say that in recent times I've come to love and appreciate this weirdo. However, at the time of this punch, I still quite firmly detested him. Serving as the main antagonist for the Punk Hazard arc, Caesar was responsible for a lot of horrible events, including development and implementation of chemical weapons, as well as experimenting on children. Oh, and he was just a massive dick. So when Luffy got in this phenomenal Haki-coated punch, it was like a dream come true. And even though he did some pretty evil stuff, this punch was very different to, say, Arlong's punch. The driving satisfaction behind this punch was that it put a stop to this annoying clown's antics, and signaled the beginning of the progression onto a real villain. Number 3. Garp. So I strongly considered putting this one onto the original list, however I came to the conclusion of disqualifying it because Garp basically let the punch happen, in an excuse to not hurt his grandson. But perhaps I was foolish. I mean, a punch is a punch regardless of whether or not it was consensual. Although I have to say the best thing about this punch is the reactions it generated from the spectators, including Sengoku and several prominent vice admirals. Look at it from their perspective. The former rival of the Pirate King and one of the strongest marines in existence just got decked by a complete rookie pirate. That would command the highest order of shock. And you can be sure that this is one of those stories that probably gets taken out of context throughout the world. I can just imagine people reading Luffy's name in a newspaper with pure fear in their minds, as they even consider that he bested one of the greatest heroes in marine history. So while it was a fake punch, it was still a fine hit, and has inadvertently added to Luffy's legacy. Number 2. Pacifista Smackdown. The main reason this punch is so satisfying is because of the groundwork that was laid before it. Prior to the time skip, it took the entirety of the Straw Hat crew to defeat even a single Pacifista opponent. But here we are now, 2 years later, with the same level of opponent, and Luffy on his own smacks it down like it was Kobe at Marineford. And after practically being at the mercy of these robotic powerhouses, it was quite a literal jaw-dropping moment. I'd expected the Straw Hats to get much stronger during the 2 years, of course, but I'd not predicted that they would quite rise to this level. In a single moment, this punch was able to express the sheer difference of power between what gets you through paradise and what is needed to tackle the new world. Number 1. Jet Pistol. Now let's be clear, we are talking about the very first jet pistol that was used against Blueno during the Enies Lobby arc. Prior to this happening, the One Piece manga was in a pretty dark place. 2 Straw Hats had left the crew and the remainder were facing off against the seemingly indestructible antagonists that were CP9. However, the moment Luffy busted out this punch changed everything. all of a sudden CP9 were vulnerable and brought back within the grasp of the Straw Hats. After seeing the betrayal at Water 7 and the capture of Nico Robin, this punch was the euphoric release we'd all been waiting for. And yeah, the rest of the Luffy Blueno fight continued this spectacular feeling, but it really was this initial punch that set the tone for everything to come. The speed, the power, and the sheer inability of Blueno to predict it make it one of the most iconic moments in the series, at least to me. And to my great shame, it wasn't even considered for the original list. But we are going to rectify this error here and crown it as number 1. And that pretty much does it for another top 5 best punches in One Piece. And once again, I'm sure that there are many more that I've missed. But if you've enjoyed this video, then feel free to like, favorite, or subscribe. And please do comment with more of your favorite punches in the series. This has been the Grand Line Review, and I'll see you next time.